welcome back to my channel, and today we're doing my March wrap-up, which I feel like I need to apologize for once again doing a monthly wrap-up near the end of the next month. Like, I need to stop. But I just hate filming wrap-ups, and so it takes so much energy to like decide to do that. I've spoken about the majority of these books in videos, so we're gonna keep it light and breezy. The first 4 books actually that I read were all included in my final book reading vlog, and I will leave that link down below. And so the first one that I read was The Discord of Gods by Jen Lyons, and I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. So I'm not going to talk about this for too long, but I absolutely loved my time with this. So this is the 5th and final book in the Course of Dragons series, which follows Kieran at the start of the first book, The Rune of Kings. He is in a jail cell, and he is told to tell his life story, and so he starts telling his life story from the moment he got sold into slavery. But then the person asking the questions interrupts him and says that's not actually true, that's not where your story started, and starts telling his story a few years earlier when he was growing up and he was being raised by this bard, and then he was also a thief on the side. But then one day a demon attacks and he is claimed as the lost son of one of these royal houses, and then eventually the 2 timelines converge and we get Kieran in the present, and we find out that the reason everyone might want a part of him is because he is destined to destroy the world. And I love this series so much. It is one of my favorite series of all time. I need to do an updated video actually of like my favorite series in all time. I'll probably do it in the next couple of months because I did one a good few years ago, but I have read so many amazing series since then. But also I think that list still stands up. I think I only did like top 5 series in that one, whereas in this one I'm probably gonna have to do like top 10 because there's so many books that I need to mention. I just love this. I love the characters. I love the world. This series is just like, it's the things that I love, you know? This was written for me. The 2 most important things to me in a book are the characters and the world building. And I will say I do enjoy the plot in this. I do think that they are slower to build maybe than some other books out there, but I do love them, and I love her endings. They are always so action-packed. And I do also love her writing. I love the footnotes. I know some people that's an issue and all of that, but for me, my 2 favorite things are characters and world building, and this is absolutely like my style because I love the characters. Maybe some of the side characters I didn't really care about as much, but I loved our main group, and the majority of the side characters I did enjoy. And then I really enjoyed the villain. His motivations made sense, and I also enjoyed the fact that like kind of both sides like had points, which I always enjoy. And the world building, like there was so much incredible detail, and I love when worlds are like sometimes like over the top world building. I love it. I love it. So this is like, it's for me. And the next one I read was A Storm of Ice and Stars by Lisa Ludecki, and this is the prequel to A Shiver of Snow and Sky, and I gave this 2 stars. I only read it a month ago and I cannot tell you anything about this. Like, I have forgotten it. I haven't erased it from my mind. But I think the bottom line was basically it was just a repeat of the first book, except I just didn't care as much about the characters. And also I didn't understand our character's motivations, because basically we follow this character and basically her whole village is suspicious of her for no reason. We never really learn or get development about why they hate her. And then they like try and kill her, so she flees. And like the red lights have appeared in the sky, which means like the plague is coming. I just didn't care. Like, I didn't understand, because like in the first book, like they're very similar, but at least in the first book I understood her goal. She left her village because she wanted to go try and connect to the goddess to save her village. But in this book, like, she didn't. Like, it's a different character, but they're very similar. I was so bored, and so I give it a 2 stars. The next book that I read is The Suffering by Rinch Pecco. I had the first book, which is The Girl in the Well, from the Well. I always get that wrong. And I gave that a 4 stars, a bit of a lower 4 stars, and I think I did definitely prefer the first book in the series, but I still overall enjoyed it. Obviously I gave it a 4 stars. And this the first book follows Okiku, and she is a ghost and she attacks people who try and hurt children. And then there is this like strange boy who has like a spirit that is like connected to him, and Okiku wants to figure out why this is and ends up helping him. And in the second book we actually follow his perspective only, which I do think kind of let the book down a little for me, because it was so interesting to read from Kiko's perspective, and I think Rinch Pecco did a really great job of kind of writing it so that like some points she is very much herself, and then other times she is nearly this like monstrous, ghost, which like, yes, she is, but the writing style did a really good job of conveying that, and it was really unique and fun. Whereas because it is all in like this human boy's perspective, it's not really as interesting a writing style. It's still like good writing, but like it's not as interesting. And I did enjoy it. I do think that like there was actually some like pretty creepy horror bits, especially for a YA. Like obviously nothing like completely traumatizing for, you know, teenagers, but like there was moments where I was like, that's a bit nasty, that's a bit creepy, which is always good. So I did enjoy it. I gave it 4 stars. Then I read The Light of All the Falls by James Islington, and I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. And I will leave the live show for The Light of All the Falls link down below, and I think it was on Kaylee's channel. Is that right? I don't know. As I said, I gave this a 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I was the person who enjoyed this finale the most, but I really enjoyed where the finale went. I loved like the full circle moments in it, and it just, again, this is another series that like there's a lot of like really small details that you should like keep track of. I always appreciate this. And also I do think I sabotaged myself just a small bit, because like I read the second book in like 24 hours and I definitely did not remember as many details as I usually would, so it definitely like was a bit harder to get into the final book, but I did overall enjoy it. And I do think the characters are not the strongest part of this book. There was some moments that I did really like them, and then there was just some moments that I was like, I want you to like stay in this moment a bit longer and really develop it. And also I just felt like it didn't feel like a conclusion for a really long time, because the characters were still so separate doing their own things. It took for a really long time for them to come together, and those are my main complaints. But like overall I really enjoyed it, and I loved, as I said, I loved how it ended, which again I feel like is a polarizing thing, but I personally really enjoyed it. The 5th book that I read in the month was The Adventures of Amina Al-Sirafi by Shannon Chakraborty, because I don't think she uses S.A. Chakraborty anymore. And I actually gave this like 5 out of 5 stars. It's a lower 5 stars, but it's just like, I think we're like a right place, right time kind of thing. And I really enjoyed it. It's definitely not as good as the David Bad series in my opinion, but like the David Bad is definitely more my style, because it is very like complicated and political, and there's a lot of like maneuvering, and our characters are like in the middle of it all, and I love that. And this one is definitely not like that, but I still like, I really liked it, and it was a 4 stars until the end, and I was just soft at the end. Like it was just really sweet. Like it should probably be a 4 stars, but like the last like 10 minutes I was like, this is so sweet. And so I don't know what was up with me. Usually I'm not such a big softie, but I don't know, I was, and I'm not mad about it. I've seen very mixed opinions. Like people kind of love this book or they think it's really boring, and I'm lucky enough I fell on I really enjoy this. I do think that it's not as strong as the David Bad world. I mean, it's the same magic system kind of, but it's less magical, if you get what I mean. Though I think that the further books in the series will become more magical. There was one thing at the end that really bothered me, but I can't remember what it was now. There was like one thing that was like, that doesn't really make sense. Oh yeah, I remember what it was. I can't say it because it's spoilers. Yeah, there was one thing at the end that like kind of bothered me, because I was like, that makes literally no sense. But aside from that, I had a really good time. I do think, so like comparing like first books in the series, I do think that the characters in this were actually stronger than in David Bad, like in the City of Brass. I do think overall I prefer the characters in the David Bad trilogy, because they got a lot of development in the further books. Like I'm kind of mostly comparing Nari to Amina, and I do think Amina was better written than Nari was in the first book. Nari in the first book of the David Bad trilogy was very much nearly a template character, like kind of quite a basic character, but like she did go through a lot of growth in those books, and I do love her. Whereas like Ali and Dara were like 2 characters that were like a bit more unique, a bit more like well developed, whereas I feel like Nari is a character we've read a lot of before, but like she got a lot of development through the series, which made her a very unique character. Whereas I feel like Amina from the start is a far more unique character than Nari was. I actually didn't know going into this that it was going to follow a mother, which I know a lot of people do not want to read about parents in books, but I enjoyed it. I think there was the right amount of like talk about her child, because her character does not revolve around it, but also at the same time it does, which I think was a really good way of doing it, because she everything she does is for her child, but at the same time she craves adventure and freedom, and it just so happens that she can have this adventure while also doing something that benefits her child. And I think that was like a really good way of doing it. And overall I really enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed like the found family aspect, and I'm very intrigued to see where it will go. And yeah, and I hope that we get like more magic in the future books. Then we have Victory of Eagles by Nia Minovic, which is book 5 in the Temeraire series. And I don't think I can say much about this because I have since read all of the rest of the books in the series, and I can't tell them apart. Basically, after I finished reading this, Emma started reading the entire series, and then by the time I got to book 6, she was at book 6, and so we ended up buddy reading the last 4 together. And I think this was Emma's favorite, and this I think is either my second or third favorite in the series. And I will also have a ranking every Nia Minovic reading guide coming in May or June. But this is the 5th book, and the whole series follows Captain Will Lawrence, and he at the start of the series is the captain of a navy ship, and he gets in a skirmish with a French ship, and they win, so they get to take whatever they want, and they end up taking a dragon's egg, which is really valuable because they are used in the war fighting Napoleon. Then this egg starts to hatch while they are on the ship, and then Captain Lawrence steps up to harness the dragon, which is what they have to do straight away, so the dragon will basically obey them, and he ends up forming a bond with this dragon. And they obviously, every book follows a different part of their journey to help defeat Napoleon. And this one I really enjoyed, mostly because, so in this one is actually the first one where we actually get Temeraire's perspective. Like all the previous books are just Captain Lawrence, and in this one we actually get Temeraire's perspective, which was really fun. It was a really fun addition. And at the start of the book they are actually separated, so it's basically a lot of angst, which if anyone is here on my channel, I love angst. I feel like I've been saying a lot how like the most important things to me are like characters, then world building, then like plot, then like writing, but I feel like actually it probably goes like angst, characters. I just love when my characters are miserable. Like, yeah, so I very much enjoyed that. I really enjoyed like the rest of the book as well, because I feel like we got a lot of development in this one, comparing to like other books in the series, and I really enjoyed that. And I feel like because we saw Temeraire thinking more about the consequences of his actions on Will, and we saw like Will really kind of realizing that like Temeraire like is like this really intelligent creature who can do a lot of good or a lot of bad. So then the next book that I read, I also included in a different vlog, and that is The Liar's Knot by M.A. Carrick. And this I read in a vlog where I was reading my previous book hauls. And I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. I actually had a lot of 5 stars this month. I'm not going to talk too much about this because it is a sequel and because I have the vlog on it. But I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. I had such a good time with this. This series follows Ren, and she is a con woman, and she has decided that she is going to take what she and her sister need to survive. So she ends up impersonating a noblewoman. She ends up getting involved in the noble politics as well as the like lower class politics, and she ends up kind of stuck in the middle of everything. It is a very slow series. It is again very much my kind of thing because it is so incredibly detailed. It is a very slow paced book. The detail in the world building is honestly, most people would probably consider excessive, but I just absolutely love learning every single aspect of this. Like, they have thought absolutely every part of this world through, which I enjoy so much, because I feel like a lot of the time in fantasy world building we are like, okay, so this and this are like unique, and then everything else is the same as like normal Earth. And like, yes, obviously some things in here are like similar, like it's inspired a lot by, I think, like Venice. And so like obviously there is some like, you know, earthly aspects to it, but a lot of it is so well developed and thought through. And I fell in love with the characters during this book. The first book I gave it 4 stars and I enjoyed it, but I didn't really love it because I liked the world. I loved the world in the first book and I liked the plot. It was a bit slow, and it's still slow in this. Like, it is very much a like, I'm going to think every single aspect of this plan through. Like, it is not an action-packed con. It is like a extremely detailed con that is going to take time. And then like politics and all of that is very slow moving. And then like we do obviously get like a bit of action near the end. And like So I enjoyed those in the first book, and that's why I gave it 4 stars. I liked the characters. I didn't really love them. I didn't think there was anything like extremely special or memorable about them. And then sometime during this book, I just fell in love with the characters, and that definitely pushed it into the 5 stars, because like I was so invested and I couldn't stop turning the pages despite the fact it is slow paced and it is huge. Like I couldn't stop turning the pages because I just really liked the characters and I wanted to see them interact with each other more. And I'm very excited for the final book, which I think comes out in like, is it August or October? I think it's August. We have book number 8 of the month, and that is going to be The Luminaries by Susan Dennard. I have the Waterstone editions with the nice edges. And I give this a 4 out of 5 stars. I don't think I talked about this anywhere. So The Luminaries follows Winnie Wednesday, and she wants nothing more than to be the Luminaries, which they are this group of people that protect everyone in this town from the creatures in the forest. And her family used to be part of the Luminaries, but then they got kicked out when Winnie's father was exposed to be a traitor. So on her 16th birthday, she decides she wants to undergo the first trial, and she ends up enlisting the help of her ex-best friend, Jay, to help her succeed in these trials. And I had such a good time with this. I definitely didn't love this as much as like the Witchland series, which is one of my favorite series, but it's fun. That's kind of the best way I can describe this. Like, I don't think it is like the best way. It's not like the like most incredible characters or world building or writing or any of this, but I had a good time. I had such a fun time. I read it in almost a day because like it seemed very typical YA, which it is. Like, it is very tropey and fun, and you can kind of tell where it's going, but like, I don't know, I think maybe because of the fact like I had just read The Liar's Knot, which was very slow, I think I needed this because like this was quick, it was fun, like it was tropey, but like in the best way. Like it was like exactly what I needed at that time. And as I said, I do for the Witchlands. I like the characters more. I like the world building more in that. I just ate it up. So I just, yeah, I had such a fun time. And like, that's literally all I can say. It's like I didn't hate the characters or anything like that. I just, I think I can recognize that like they're characters and plots and tropes and all that we have seen a million times in YA, but you know what, sometimes you need it. And then the last book that I read in the month was Tongues of Serpents by Naomi Novik, which is the 6th book in the Tamara series. So I'm not really going to talk about this at all because I genuinely cannot. Oh no, I remember what this is about. I really can't tell you. I've already told you what the entire Tamara series is about, and this one I can't remember. I liked it less than Victory of Eagles anyway. But yeah, as I said, I did buddy read this with Emma, which made it like a really fun time, and I will be going through like my entire ranking of Tamara series in about a month's time, so you can look forward to that. So those are the 9 books that I read in March. What month are we at? So yes, so thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, subscribe. I will see you all in the next one. Bye.